Brad, this was your fifth 15-steal game of the season, which was the most for this franchise since 03-04.
Sweet.
So pretty sweet, right? Yeah. Do you feel like the team is more in control of a game when it's getting that significant number of steals?
I don't even pay attention to the steals, to be honest. That means nothing. I mean, all it means, I said this before the game, is we're in good position. When we start gambling and taking ourselves out of position, it's not worth it. And, you know, those futile attempts get you beat. And we had a couple of those tonight that we got scored on. And but we started the game in the right position getting steals. And those are worth it. But you just have to be able to balance that. You can't get caught up in the steals or defense thing if you're a player. And if you're, you know, certainly coach, you just got to be in the right spot to make it as difficult as possible. And then when that person brings the ball in your direction and you're in the right spot, then be active with your hands and be aggressive. And so I think that our guys have done a pretty good job of that all year. But it's why we don't talk about it a lot.
The Celtics win 111-103 over the Denver Nuggets. We're going to break this game down and then look at the players' personality profiles here on the Garden Report, powered by Grandstand on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog.
Yes, I'm the boss.
Welcome to the show. I am Jared Weiss from CLNS Radio. I am joined today by not my cousin, Eric Weiss from Sports Aptitude and Celtics Blog. Eric, great to finally have you on the show.
It's great to be here.
Especially the beard. The beard game is pretty strong tonight.
Yeah, well, it's the season. Playoff beard will probably have to be shaved in a week or two after I get over the weekend's loss, but for right now, it's going strong.
All right, well, we're trying not to talk about that because we don't want our audience crying during the show. So let's get into it tonight. Will Barton was amazing, Avery Bradley was amazing, but that Celtics defense was incredible, especially in the first half. They had 11 steals in the first half to finish with 15 in the game, which, of course, Brad Stevens says is completely meaningless. But, I mean, they were able to sustain incredible defense pretty much for the first 3.5 quarters, and then they kind of let up at the end there, which has been the Celtics' issue, is letting up at the end when they're playing really well.
Yeah, definitely an extension. Kevin O'Connor and I and you, we were talking about this, I think, last week. But the Celtics have kind of felt like a great underdog team, like really good at coming from behind. I think it's indicative of the record they had after they fell way out of the race. Evan Turner touched on it a little bit last year, making light of that. But they haven't really quite, I think, found a way to play from ahead when things get rolling. Maybe that's a byproduct of emotion. We're talking about going into personality profiles a little bit or whatever, but this team is definitely a team that's got tons of fight, but all the anomalies, the road record versus the home record, all of these different things, they blow out teams or then they lose close leads. So the first half was kind of what we've come to expect. They've adjusted to this small, the more consistent or whatever you want to say, small, skilled lineup or whatever, and I think they're starting to even out on both sides of the court.
Well, Brad Stevens, after the game, was talking about how he felt looking at the Nuggets that they're like this team of runs where they're down and then they're up all of a sudden, then they're down, then they're up at the end of the game. I thought he was describing his team. That kind of sounds like the Celtics. Because they're not a high-skill team. They're more of a team that relies on passion and effort more than anything, really. So that's usually a team that's going to be playing catch-up.
Yep, and I think it's a fairly reasonable analogy when you look at kind of the Nuggets mix, their general overall age. They have a kind of, if you look at Gallinari compared to, Isaiah Thomas or something, there's some parallels there where you have some young, undercooked, but, interesting, youth players, and then you have some kind of in their prime or close to their prime, veterans. And they have been, if people haven't watched, I'm not sure how many Celtics fans watch Denver. I like to torture myself with mediocre team basketball frequently. They're sneaky good relative to their record. They're much better, and I think that's kind of, I think there are a lot of parallels with how they play. So it was good that Boston was able to lock it up because Denver can sneak up and continue a run like that. I think Kelly talked about it, saying keeping 5 to 7 point runs from being like 10 to 15 point runs, and that's huge because a team like this can definitely do that and have done that a number of times this year.
And one thing they did well that I was worried about coming to this game was handling Jokic. And this is a guy that's a really versatile center that we talked about this before the game. He's someone that they're able to get the ball and low to him, and then he's able to pass out of there. And with the Celtics, if they have their really active point guards trying to collapse the paint and leaving the three-point shooters open, which is something Stevens acknowledges is a bit of an issue for them at times, that's where they can really get hurt, and they were able to really contain him. And even though the Nuggets went to him on pretty much every possession for the first 5 minutes of the game. He really wasn't successful at all, and they missed like 9 shots in the paint in the first quarter.
Yep. Well, giving him a huge hip pointer right after that, too, didn't hurt either, and it kind of knocked him off his game and out of the game for a while.
I didn't even notice him after the game at that point.
Yeah. Oh, he came back, so that's a testament to him that he shook it off and he came back in the game.
The tough Eastern European blood there.
Yeah, maybe the damage was done at that point. But he's an impressive player. And like I said, Denver's got a lot of interesting players, so their ability to kind of figure out how to attack. I think Kelly playing 17 minutes, I don't know what Brad was talking about looking at different matchups, but tough matchup for him, on the interior tonight if you're going to go skilled or whatever, to have him, especially against Nurkic, which is an insanely poor matchup no matter how bad his conditioning is. But just too, with the length and the size is not ideal. So their ability to kind of figure out a way to keep that from hurting him and then get the lead was probably one of the most impressive things about the beginning of the game.
I mean, the fact that Nurkic didn't kind of toss guys all over the place was a win, I'd say, for the Celtics.
It almost happened. Him and Crowder looked like they were going to hate
Crowder
each other
started
for
crying
a bit.
again. Yeah, that's been a bit of a theme for him.
I still haven't seen this destroying the Gatorade thing. I'm hoping that
we'll
somebody
have to bring
recorded
that up later,
Yeah, excellent. But it seemed like everything stayed relatively even kill. It was a strange game though. I don't know if it was Boston just controlling, but Denver didn't really have kind of a consistency to anything they did, even effort-wise. They traded baskets early, and then they kind of fell behind. There was not a lot of life until maybe that third quarter, late third or early fourth, where Will Barton kind of got a chance to kind of get engaged and involved in the game. And I think he came in and did Will Barton things right when Boston was kind of maybe patting themselves on the back a little early and making some questionable shot selection and having a little bit of a wane in the effort, and it kind of turned it into more of a game.
I was really worried we weren't going to get to see the Will Barton show tonight. That guy is one of the most fun guys to watch in the NBA right now. He's just he's like an and one mixtape tour, all wrapped up in a little 130-pound body. It's
130
amazing.
pounds
On a good day. Okay, quickly before we go to part 2, Avery Bradley had a huge first half. Every single shot that he took, regardless of whether it was an open shot off balance, he hit it. He was in this incredible rhythm. Gets cold at halftime, comes back out, doesn't make a 3 for the rest of the game. What did you see out of Avery tonight?
I think this is a pattern that we see, and I can't guarantee it, but Avery, for one, we got to give him credit. His level of development and progression has been really great his entire career, considering all the different combinations of team he's played on. Really, he's the longest tenured, but the team that he started with is nothing compared to the team that he's on now. So he's survived a lot of transitions and become, as Kevin will say, great above the break 3-point shooter and all that. But I feel like he fairly consistently starts hot, but then drops off. And I don't think it's necessarily him as much as it is he's not great at creating his own shot, although he's worked really hard on it. Had that nice little, that little mix and took Nurkic to the hole early on. But I think he would benefit more than anybody from having another kind of Isaiah Thomas-esque scorer, creator guy, because I just think it's just a different world when you become higher on the priority list for the defensive, scheming. And so when he starts hot like that, the other team gets all over him and starts taking that away, which helps other players get open because he's drawing attention, but it hurts his ability to be consistent, I think, from half to half.
All right, so we're going to go to break. Stay on this playlist for part 2 of the Garden Report, where we get inside the players' heads. This is the Garden Report, powered by Grandstand on CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog.
Just aggressive in the first quarter, making shots. He's a great shot maker and a guy that is getting to his spots, and guys are finding him. And he's just doing a great job of getting us going early in the first quarters and throughout the game. And I'm proud of him because he puts in the work and it's showing.